You watched the tape, you saw the box score, and you felt it. The offense was humming. What I want you to hear first is this: it doesn't feel random. When Doc gets into a rhythm and the offense is clicking, it looks effortless, and that's what we saw in this game. He wasn't forcing throws or gambling on highlight reel heroics. He was surgical. The ball was on time, on target, and when you watch the movement and reset in the pocket, you can tell this version of the Cowboys' offense is built around timing, quick reads, and getting the ball to playmakers in space. That's why the team could roll despite missing big pieces. Chemistry and schematics are carrying it. Listen, you and I both know individual numbers don't win games by themselves, but Doc's decision-making this stretch is lighting everything up. He's finding Pickens in the right windows, he's using Jake Ferguson as a constant safety valve, and he's trusting the run to set up the pass. Those little decisions, a pump fake, to hold a DB, a throw to the outside shoulder on third and medium, the scramble that sneaks a first down, those are the plays that sustain drives. If you grade Doc today, think about accuracy, turnovers or lack of them, and how he managed the game under pressure. Drop that grade in the comments right now, A through F, and I'll pin the most popular pick. George Pickens has been emerging into a true vertical threat for this offense, and it matters because when you have a receiver who can threaten the top of the defense, it stretches coverages and creates lanes underneath for Ferguson and crossing routes. You saw that connection blossom during several key drives, and that deep shot they hit late, that wasn't luck. That was timing and trust. Picture this: a defense stretching to cover Pickens deep means more space for the short, decisive throws that add up to first downs. That's where the offense becomes efficient, and it's not just on Doc, it's on play design and receiver route. Discipline too. We'll also talk about the role of lesser-known targets who stepped up. Name recognition isn't required when you produce on Sundays. Ryan Flournoy and other secondary targets have given the Cowboys new options in 3 wide sets, and that diversity matters when your line is banged up. It keeps defenses guessing and prevents one defender from locking onto a single weapon. Quick question while we're live: which young target surprised you most in this game? Tell me in 1 sentence. Below, I'll read the top replies in the next video. If you like this kind of breakdown, hit subscribe. We're pushing for 16,000 subs, and every new follower helps get this breakdown in front of more Cowboys fans. Stick around because the balance we're seeing leads straight into the run game, and you'll see why Yavante's production might be more sustainable than a 1-week hot streak. You know how every good Cowboys team has always had balance? Passing gets the highlights, but when the run game is punishing, the team feels complete. Right now, that balance is starting to show again because Javonte Williams is finally delivering the kind of production fans were hoping for when Dallas brought him in. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure this signing was going to be a game changer after his season in Denver, but look at what he's doing here. Decisive cuts, running through arm tackles, and turning what should be 2-yard gains into 6 or 7. That's a back dictating the tone, not reacting to it. The numbers back it up. He's near the top in rushing yards, touchdowns, and in advanced metrics like rush EPA and yards after contact. That's not fluff, that's proof he's creating extra yardage beyond what the blocking gives him. When you're averaging over for yards after contact, you're dragging defenders and keeping drives alive, and that's the kind of physical identity that can carry an offense in December. What makes this even more impressive is the state of the offensive line. You and I both know they've been shuffled because of injuries, and yet this run game has held up. That doesn't happen without a commitment to scheme. Clayton Adams and the staff have leaned into blocking concepts that play to strengths, zone looks, creative counters, and situations where tight ends are sealing edges. This isn't just Javonte winning. It's a full unit commitment, and it opens up play action for Doc, which we saw work beautifully in several sequences. You probably noticed that balance on the first few drives. The defense couldn't key in because they had to respect both the handoff and the pass. That's when an offense becomes unpredictable. Suddenly the linebackers hesitate, safeties creep up, and Doc has cleaner windows. So here's a quick one. Do you want Dallas to build around Uvanti right now or keep it balanced with Doc's arm? Comment 1 if you want to ride Uvanti, or 0 if you prefer the passing game to remain the focus. I want to see where Cowboys Nation lands on this because balance is one thing, but sometimes you've got to ride the hot hand. Also, hit subscribe so you don't miss my breakdown later this week where I'll run the blocking scheme play-by-play and show how one of Uvanti's biggest runs was drawn up. Defense wins championships, and for the first time in a while it felt like the Cowboys' defense played a full game without letting the pressure taper off. Against the Jets, you saw something we've been waiting on, a front seven that got after the quarterback from start to finish. The pass rush didn't just show up in spurts, it dictated the game. What stood out was how many different players were involved. This wasn't one-man domination. A dozen different defenders logged pressures, which tells you scheme and depth pieces are starting to click. When you break down the numbers, a pressure rate over 50% is absurd. You're essentially forcing the QB into discomfort every other drop back. The average time to pressure was barely over 2 seconds, and that's what makes quarterbacks panic, throw off platform, and settle for checkdowns. With multiple contributors, top names, and rotational guys, you suddenly have a defense that doesn't rely on just one superstar. Now, we can't pretend everything is fixed. Sam Williams has underwhelmed so far, and edge depth beyond the first wave remains a concern. One game of dominant pressure doesn't erase earlier stretches when the rush looked flat, so I expect trade deadline conversations to keep circulating. Adding one more rotational edge rusher could take this group from dangerous to elite. Quick poll for you, should Dallas chase another pass rusher before the deadline? Comment 1 for yes, 0 for no. I'll tally replies and share the results. The other encouraging sign was complementary defense. Coverages held up long enough for pressure to force bad throws, and that's the formula you want. The Jets barely had time to set up big plays because the rush worked in concert with the secondary. Consistency is the real question. Can this defense bring relentless pressure week after week, or was this a one-off against a struggling offensive line? That's what we'll be tracking. This win does two important things. It builds belief and it exposes what still needs work. On the positive side, the offense is humming, Doc is making smart, efficient decisions, Uvanti is turning into a legitimate engine, and the defense generated pressure from multiple sources. Those are the exact ingredients a contender needs. When those elements show up together, you don't just win one game. You create a blueprint for winning a playoff series. That's why this victory feels meaningful beyond the box score. At the same time, don't let the confidence mask the clear questions. Injuries to the offensive line have forced shuffles and created stretches where continuity is fragile. Depth at edge rushing beyond the first wave is still a concern, and there are moments where the passing game has to do heavy lifting because the run or protection needs to bail it out. Those aren't small details. They're the difference between a team that can sustain a late-season run and one that runs out of steam in November. So consider this the checklist: shore up line depth, monitor rotational edge play, and Sam Williams' production, and decide whether adding an extra edge presence before the trade deadline is worth the price. I want to know what you think. If you could make one roster move today, what would it be? Drop that single move in the comments so we can debate it. As for what to watch next week, look for consistency in the pass rush. How the Cowboys respond if an offensive starter returns. Does rotation change? And whether play action continues to open easier targets for Doc. If Doc stays efficient and turnovers remain low, the team's ceiling is very high. If the offensive line stabilizes and Uvanti continues to make second-level yardage, you've got a powerful, complementary offense. If the defense maintains pressure from multiple contributors, you get a unit that can win games even when the offense stalls. Before I go, one last favor. We're pushing to hit 16,000 subscribers to grow this community. and bring you more film breakdowns and exclusive clips. If you're getting value from these takes, subscribe and share this video with one Cowboys friend who will appreciate the breakdown, and smash the like button if you want deeper film rooms on them, run blocking, or specific pressure packages.